Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In today's video, we are going to discuss about artificial intelligence and how artificial intelligence had redefined or transformed the experiences of human life such as death, the memory, as well as the concept of immortality, which also is being promoted by this particular concept. Now, if you try to understand the context in which we are discussing this particular topic. So recently an AI company by the name of StoryFile, which tagline or whose tagline is have the conversation of a lifetime, came into news because during the funeral of Mariana Smith, who was a Holocaust survivor and died in 2022. Now, during the funeral ceremony, by using the artificial intelligence, the company was able to provide experience to the relative of Mariana, where the pre-recorded answers were combined with the artificial intelligence, and a realistic interactive experience was something that we saw here. In other words, what we can understand, it is not that simply a conversation that you think sometime you have on a video or over a video call. Rather, it was something more closer, and it was more we can call as experience of real conversation. And the people who were at the ceremony, they had a new way, a unique way to feel connected to the loved one after they have gone. So basically, this is one example of how the transformation of the experiences, especially related to death, has happened after the coming up of AI. Now, if we talk about the virtual life after death, many well-known companies such as Google, we talk about Apple, Meta, and all these companies already are developing such technology that in the near future, in the very near future, can cause people to think about life after death in a very different way. In this context, the Microsoft has even developed such kind of tools which allow someone you trust to access your online accounts when you die. That means even when you are physically dead, your digital presence will not evaporate, it will not go away, it will remain on the digital platform, and you can trust someone, you can give the access to someone who will manage your online account. And Microsoft also has patented such kind of system that takes someone's digital data such as text, email, and social media post and use it to create a chatbot. And this chatbot, to a more extent, can respond in ways that sound like the original person, obviously, because we know that especially if you are a digitally active person, throughout your entire life you keep on what you can call as interacting and keep on putting on your thoughts, posts, and all that. And based on these and taking the example from this, evidences from this, then the chatbot basically can create such kind of experiences, such kind of reply, which seems that a person will think that he is talking to a live person. In South Korea, in this context, meeting you kind of documentary were seen, where a use of advanced digital imaging and voice technology has been used, where a mother was experienced an interaction with her daughter who already was died, but as per the mother's interview, it seemed that she is talking to her real daughter, and that was made possible by the use of AI tools. Now, in this context, the question that comes into mind, that who owns your digital afterlife? And this issue is already being discussed not only in the courts but also in the government legislation around the world. Not only that, even in the cultural and religious sphere, such kind of discussion has started to make a heading. Now, here, if you look at the countries such as United States, in US, almost all the states of the country have passed laws that allow people to include digital account into their wills. For example, in the will, generally you talk about the distribution of a property, who will inherit the property, how it should be divided, succession, and all that. So similarly, not only the physical assets, but also now you can use the digital assets, digital account in your will, that who will manage it and what should be done after your death. In Germany, if we talk about similarly, here it has clearly given a direction that the Facebook had to give a deceased person family access to their account after their death. And digital account should be treated as inheritable property like a bank account or a house. That means after the death of a father, generally all the social media companies should transfer the access right to the son or daughters. So who is responsible for what your AI version does? Now we know that many times we have this deep fake concept also, or examples we are seeing increasing these days. And recently, a well-known Hollywood actor Bruce Willis deep fake video was circulated and was used for advertisement purposes. And later on, it was found that it is not actually Bruce Willis, larger it was the AI version. So a debate has basically erupted about how people's digital likeness can be controlled or even exploited for the profit. The Bruce Willis case is an example here. So that is one of the major area of concern. The second concern is about the cost factor. Now we know that while basic tools, basic AI tools that manage the digital account after death are free, but the more advanced services, such as in the beginning of video we had talked about the interaction that you can have with a person, which seems very realistic experiences. So this is very expensive, and many experts argue that such kind of tools, such kind of facilities, because of their higher cost, can only be accessed by the person who is having much more greater wealth. So here basically our discussion happens around the concept of digital immortality, and how it can create a new type of equality. Already in the physical sphere of our life, we are seeing economic inequality that has increased in almost every country of the world. So such kind of inaccessibility of the AI tools to the poorer people will create another inequality, but in the digital sphere of life. Example is, creating an AI version of yourself might cost thousands of dollars, which obviously cannot be experienced by all the general people. The other point that need to be discussed here is that the concept of grieving that we have, and how the AI and the digital world can create a challenge here. Now we know that every one of us, because of the human mortality, experiences death of a loved one. And in this context, the memories that you have largely is in the physical space. It can be in terms of the photograph, it can be in the terms of the interaction that you might be able to recall and remember. But if you talk about the memories that are stored in the digital space, those are more permanent in nature. That means even after that, suppose if you are trying to remember some person who had died 10, 20, 30 years ago, now the memory will in your mind will be very what you can call as not as strong, or no, impression will not as strong as if you are looking at the digital memories, because there the information remain intact and in the same way. So the grieving experiences can be very different if a person's presence in the digital world is maintained. Second is unexpected appearance. For example, a survey has been conducted where the people were asked about their experiences, and they have talked about that many times while scrolling social media or some feed, what happens, there is an unexpected appearance of the photograph of the loved one, and that bring back emotions when you least expect them. And as per the psychologist, it can create a problem for the people, because it will make it harder for people to move on, because continuously on the digital platform will be keep on getting reminder, you'll keep on getting reminded by the memories. And as AI technology becomes more advanced, it's possible to be able to chat the digital version of loved one that feels almost real. Example already I have discussed in the beginning of the video. But what is the major problem here? The major problem is that it will be much more harder for people to let go the people who have died and to have a fresh start in case. For example, people, or suppose a couple who are married, now unfortunately husband or wife has died. Now due to the presence of digital media, due to the presence or use of AI technology, it will be much more difficult for the living spouse to move on, maybe get married, and further go on with his or her life. So that is the challenge that this particular AI tools can pose. The other question that is being asked is about the cultural and religious views. So in this context, the Vatican, as we know, it is the main center of Christianity, at least Catholicism. So it has said that the digital legacies should always respect human dignity. That is the first direction. Second, in Islamic traditions talk about, scholars are also discussing how digital remains fit into the religious laws, whether they should be destroyed, whether they should be preserved, or what kind of relations should be established between the digital identity or the digital memory of a person and the living relatives. In Japan, some Buddhist temples are offering digital graveyard also, where families can preserve and interact with digital traces of their loved ones. For example, in the earlier time in the physical space, you used to have a crematorium, or not in crematorium, at least we can say a graveyard. And many times in the Christianity or in the Islamic world, it is a practice that people go and sit near the grave and then try to refresh the memory with the dead person. So this is something that now people can do digitally. Now, in this context, the planning of digital legacy is also something that is being recommended by many experts. For example, we know that today, rather having physical assets, we also have a huge number of digital assets. So how these digital assets will be managed, preserved, whether you want it to be deleted after death, that is something which you have to decide earlier. Second, you need to find someone or need to basically pick your digital executor, that who will have the final say and authority in managing your digital imprint or digital footprint after your death. Second, you have to ensure that your will covers your digital identity and the assets. Today we know that many areas are there where we are having the assets in the digital form, whether it is the digital gold, whether it is the cryptocurrencies. So all these need to be managed, and you need to pick up a digital executor who you can trust. Third is the ethical and emotional impact. You have to also think from that angle, that if you keep on maintaining your presence on the digital platform, what kind of impact it will have on loved one. Sometimes it can have a positive impact, sometimes it can have a negative impact, making it harder for the people after death. So based on that, ethical and emotional decisions should be taken as well. But overall, what generally people should do in the today's world is they should plan to avoid misuse, ensure funding for long-term needs, and align your decision with your values. This is the way how we can ensure that our digital legacy remains intact. And here we can also try to associate the present situation with the pyramid. In the older time, in the ancient time, we know that the Egyptian pharaohs used to build pyramids to preserve their body in the form of mummies. So this was something that was done thousands of years ago, and it was nothing but a method of preserving their legacy. However, in today's time, our digital pyramids, where we are trying to preserve our legacy, is much more advanced and broadly available. And they don't just preserve memories, they can continue to influence the world long after you are gone. For example, whatever thoughts you have put on the social media platform, what kind of ideas and ideologies you have supported on the social media platform, what kind of work you have done in the public spheres, let us say for an example. Now these all will be remain available to the public even long after you have gone, and this will keep on either inspiring them, or based on your work, based on their ideas, people will have or derive influence from this. That is why the digital pyramid today is much more significant than the actual pyramid that pharaohs have developed centuries back. That is all for this particular video. Thank you.